call the November the 12th Planning Board meeting to order. We do have a quorum. At this time, we are going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, are there any disqualifications on the new business that's going to be in front of us tonight? Okay, I did announce a quorum earlier. We have 4 out of 7 members present, so we do have a quorum. And I'm going to entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
We have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Now, if you've had a chance to look at our minutes from August the 12th, wow, back, yeah. I had to look at that twice. Any changes should be duly noted. If not, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the August 12th minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Okay, moving on. There is no old business to discuss, so we're going to move on to new business. The first item in front of us is a text amendment brought forth by Currituck County. It is Planning Board 25-01, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Chapter 4, Use Standards, Chapter 5, Development Standards, Chapter 6, Subdivisions and Infrastructures, Chapter 8, Nonconformities, and Chapter 10, Definitions and Measurements to ensure consistency with recent revisions to the North Carolina General Statutes. At this time, we're going to hear from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening to the board. This is a staff-initiated text amendment to bring the ordinance in closer conformance with some state statute updates over the past, actually, couple of years. And on your memo, in your agenda packet, page 7 of 35, those are detailed out, items 1 through 9. It's really, I think, 7 changes that we're looking at here, and they're just found in different places of the ordinance, which is why you see references through the ordinance. But the first one is related to the bona fide farm definition. There's an update to the bona fide farm definition, and so therefore we're trying to incorporate that into the ordinance. And it made sense to us that in Chapter 1 exemptions, that bona fide farmlands are what is exempt from the ordinance where it is exempt. You know, so if that land is being used for farm purposes, that those activities are exempt from the ordinance, and that's what this is saying. So instead of having this definition of bona fide farm in Chapter 1, we feel like it's more appropriate to move that and update the definition in Chapter 10 with bona fide farm. So that's why you see this strike through here. Then there was a change regarding manufactured homes. That a couple things. One, that you couldn't exclude or define manufactured homes based off of a date or an age. And then the other was that we can't require masonry skirting on homes that are on land leased to the homeowner. So there's a couple different places in the ordinance where that change needs to be implemented, and one of those is here in Chapter 4. So you can see we're adding the parentheses there that unless that for a Class A manufactured home, masonry curtain wall is required unless it's on land leased to the homeowner. Then there was a provision, and this is the next couple of slides related to a change that no local government may require a parking space to be larger than 9 by 20 unless it's designed for handicap, parallel, or diagonal parking. And this particular section really is more towards storage of RVs and major subdivisions. So to preserve that language, we're just changing the wording to storage and still maintaining all the standards that are required there. Then with respect to that dimensional change, you can see here in the off-street parking standards, we're striking through the 10 feet wide and changing that to 9 to be consistent with the state law. Same here in the dimensional standards table for parking spaces. I'm striking through that 10 for 9 and leaving the depth. I'm just looking there. This doesn't look exactly right.
10 for 9 or 9 for 10?
10 for 9.
Okay.
Sometimes the formatting of our ordinance and the way it goes into agenda packets does not translate, and it looks like that's what's happened here on page 14 of 35 of your ordinance. Let me look at that here. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
missing on,
Yeah.
it's up here.
Yeah.
That's
Let's
why I
just
said
make
9
sure
for
we
10, 10 for
have
9.
that right here.
Yeah.
So the paragraph at the bottom will stay, parking lot aisles not adjoining parking spaces shall have a minimum width of 10 feet.
Right, so that there's no change proposed there. This is just to update the minimum
it.
width.
Okay.
But what I'm noticing here is that
I'm not
there's
reading
no
this.
minimum width for angled and perpendicular, and I want to make sure this is reflecting the change that we need, so. Let's see here.
So this is-
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that's the
so
only thing.
this is supposed to be, this, let me grab the mouse. This block here is supposed to be, all one block with the number 10, and that 10 being stricken and replaced with a 9. So for all of these types of parking spaces, it will be 9 feet
Okay.
wide. That was the intent of that change, and I'm not sure something happened here with the formatting.
So the sentence below it?
There's no change to the sentence at all.
Just 9 here.
Okay, okay,
So it's going to be 9 all the
All
way
right.
down.
and
Yeah.
then 9 down there too.
No,
Right.
no, this paragraph is going to stay the same.
Okay.
Paragraph stays.
So just this right here, this 10 is in the middle of all of these 4 rows, and it will become a 9. So to make it consistent with the state
Okay.
change. Let's see here. And then there is in your agenda packet, there's a figure that shows like parking stall measurements, and we'll just update that for consistency with the new dimensional standard.
Right here.
Let's see. Then we have development entry points. This is related to a law change that no local government may require additional fire apparatus access roads in the developments of one or two family dwellings that are not in compliance with those that are required by the fire code. So that's affecting our ability to require additional access points for subdivisions. And so since that's something the state's looking at, we've just proposed striking through this development entry point section of the ordinance and leaving the statement that the minimum development entry points should be consistent with the North Carolina Fire Code. Then with performance guarantees, this is just another, it's not a definition per se, but it's striking through the types of, some additional language that's not needed. And this brings our language consistent with the state language related to performance guarantees, that it can be a cash deposit, a cashier's check, a letter of credit, or a surety bond. Again, we're back to the manufactured home change, so carving out that exception for manufactured homes located on land leased to the homeowner. There was also a change to the definition of impervious surface at the state level. So these particular changes to our definition of lot coverage bring that consistent with the state changes. You can see that there's a lot of additional language there at the end of that definition as to things that shall not be considered impervious surface, like a slatted deck, the water area of a swimming pool, surface of 57 stone laid 4 inches thick over geotextile fabric, a trail, paved or unpaved, as long as the pavement's porous, landscaping material. Goes on to talk about if you're placing it in portions of driveways or parking areas where the vehicle will not compact it. So think about like parking strips. You may have seen parking strips where you park on the concrete, but then the rest of the area is open or grassed. That can't count as impervious surface. And then they've included artificial turf as well. And you can see we're also updating our definition of impervious surface to match the state's changes. This is the bona fide farm changes that I spoke about at the beginning of this particular presentation to include the state definition of bona fide farm. And then to also add this information that these are the types of things that can be provided as proof of bona fide farm status, but this isn't an exhaustive list, so there could be other evidence. And again, bona fide farms are exempt from zoning with respect to farm use only.
Jenny, all of this has to do with farm use only, right?
What?
Like, just like the impervious
No.
surface change, that's everything, across the board?
Yes.
Okay.
This is changing each section of the ordinance. So the
Okay.
bona fide farm is farm use only. The manufactured home changes are related to manufactured homes wherever they're placed or how they're defined. So these are the changes to the manufactured home definitions, striking out the date of construction because that's what the state says we can't do. We can't define different or exclude manufactured homes based on the age, including that the statement about not requiring the masonry curtain wall under homes on land leased to the homeowner. This just basically preserves the definitions that we have in place. Removing that date doesn't really change the definitions at all or how they're allowed to be constructed or replaced. I just had, if you guys had questions about manufactured homes, I had that ready. But that is the end of the first text amendment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
No, it just looks like you're trying to get it all cleaned up.
So,
Consistency.
this on the impervious surface, was this new or just adapted to the changes in the state?
Right, that's updates to our definitions and rules of measurement based off of the state's changes. Yes, yeah.
Okay,
So all those additions are verbatim from the state definition.
okay, gotcha. Looks like good changes to me.
And then we do recommend approval because the text amendment is consistent with the
Yeah.
plan and brings the ordinance more in conformance with the general statutes.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm good.
Okay. Anybody have questions for Jenny?
Will there be like a spin-off effect of this change? Because isn't that a little bit more liberal right now on the impervious surface than what it was?
This is,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how will that change things in construction as far as runoff criteria and swales, things of that nature?
It will change what counts as lot coverage that then requires in certain instances, requires additional areas for storage of runoff
Okay,
or infiltration of runoff.
because that was based on before on the amount of impervious, right? So, so the impervious area
For a lot, yeah.
per lot, right? So this should with that type of change, there might be less of a demand on how big or how long the swales are and properties because,
Could be.
okay, interesting, okay. Just more curiosity than anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, these all seem a lot less like invasive than, I guess, what we have now. I mean, like the skirt. When they, I do have a question. When you say that it's leased, isn't most like, are like homes, trailer homes and stuff, aren't they usually leased off the land of the?
A lot of times if they're in a manufactured home subdivision, then yes, they would be leased. Most of the time when you're building on a single family dwelling, it's not.
Right.
I'm not saying there could be a lease in that situation as well.
It seems like reading this that most of this has made it a little bit easier, lightened up some of the previous regulations. Has it?
These changes?
yeah.
Yes, I think most of the changes are related to, restricting certain government regulations, right?
And I was looking, maybe I read it wrong, the parking spaces now, instead of being 10, can be 9, is that what I saw?
Right,
Okay.
and in the memo, I didn't mention this, but when these changes are made at the state level, we implement those administratively as we know about them. And so this is codifying it in the ordinance, so it's there for everyone to see.
Gotcha, okay.
Now, are pavers, I don't see them specifically where it uses the words pavers, but I think there's
That did.
something very similar.
So pavers aren't explicitly, removed from impervious.
Okay,
Our ordinance allows some credit for pavers in certain instances if they're installed properly. You may
Certain
get a
ways.
reduction
Yeah.
in impervious for that or required runoff storage for
Okay.
that.
yeah,
But they're not specifically exempted by this.
okay.
Yeah, because I noticed some of the pavers that are coming out now are actually have spots in the middle of them to grow grass within the paver.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Any discussion between board members? Okay, hearing none, at this time, I'm going to entertain a motion for approval. I'm sure everyone has their cheat sheets, and at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve PB 25-01, Currituck County text amendment, because the request is consistent with the Image Currituck 2040 Vision Plan and the Unified Development Ordinance, and it brings the ordinance into compliance with the North Carolina general statutes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to item 2 under new business. Planning Board PB 25-19, Currituck County, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 2, to require pre-application conferences and community meetings to be held within a year of application submittal, and to amend authority to file applications based on application type.
Thank you again. As you said, this is a staff-initiated text amendment related to requiring that pre-apps and community meetings be held within a year of application submittal if they are required by the ordinance. And then also to make some changes to the authority to file requirements for different development application types. And some of this came out of staff's currently working on implementing some new permitting software in the near future. And when we were thinking about having online applications and who can sign for applications and how you get the required approvals or signatures rather, that the way the ordinance is currently worded, it's very restrictive. And basically, if there's more than one owner, the way the ordinance reads currently, every single owner has to consent to an application. So this is any application, because a building permit application generally has a zoning permit attached to it. So you apply for a residential building permit, and the zoning review happens through that process. So that's subject to the UDO, right? And so we're just trying to bring consistency with how we've normally done the development process, and make it so that there's no issue with submittals that are online, and clarifying when every single property owner, every single contract purchaser must sign an application, and when an authorized agent can sign on your behalf, or one owner can sign, which is typically what you see anyway with a building permit application. You don't generally have every single owner sign. However, if it's a request for a rezoning or a conditional rezoning or a major subdivision, then you typically do have all of those owners sign before we even start processing the application. But firstly, it was looking at having there was no requirement in the ordinance regarding pre-application conferences, like at what point do you need to redo a pre-app if you haven't submitted that application yet. So we felt like a year was a generous amount. And we are available for pre-apps within a few days. We can generally schedule a pre-app. The ordinance says send in your plans and then at least 3 days in advance, and we're typically scheduling those either 4 or 5 days within a week, something like that, so we can get the information out to the applicants. So it's not to be punitive. It's just to have that that deadline, so everybody understands what might be coming in, what submittals we might be receiving. And then the same for community meeting. Community meeting requires notification to property owners within 500 feet, and we felt like there should be some sort of time frame there, so that we're suggesting a year for that as well. Any questions on the pre-app community meeting timeframes? No? Okay. And then we're getting to the application submittal and acceptance. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit because this was really the main part of the text amendment that we wanted to get before you. And so what we've done is we're saying that unless it states otherwise in the ordinance, development applications subject to a decision by the Board of Adjustment, which would be like a variance or an appeal, or the Board of Commissioners, which would be major subdivision, rezoning, conditional rezoning, plan development, things like that, that for those applications, they need to be submitted by the owner or contract purchaser of the land or a person authorized to submit. And if there are multiple owners, and see here, if there are multiple owners or contract purchasers, everyone has to sign to consent to that application. So either sign the application or sign a letter consenting to the application. And that's typically how we've done that for rezonings to this point, subdivisions, et cetera. Like, we always get that. When we don't get it, generally is like I was saying before, like a zoning permit that's associated with a building permit, and maybe like clear cutting permit, things like that. And this says that all other development applications may be submitted by the owner, contract purchaser, or an authorized agent. It just clarifies basically what we've already been doing. It codifies it in the ordinance. And then to bring the ordinance in compliance with another recent decision of that the state did was, you may recall the downzoning state legislation that was adopted. What's that been, about a year ago, maybe not quite, something like that. But it basically said that an application for a downzoning prior to this change used to be able to be initiated by local government, but that particular change said that no, the owners have to sign a downzoning, and every owner has to sign that. So this change to the zoning map amendment section of the ordinance is to clarify that those applications can't be initiated by anyone other than the owner. And as you can see, this prior section here says it's got to be signed by all the owners, right? So that's what that changes. This is just the development review procedures. If you have questions about the types of applications that might need all the signatures versus an authorized agent, we can talk about that. And then that's all I have for you. And same, staff recommends approval because it's consistent with the land use plan and the ordinance, and it brings this provision in compliance with the general statutes.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
So the community meeting mandatory is now changing to shall be held within 1 year preceding the date of the submittal.
Yes.
And that is of any of the following zoning map, rezonings. Okay. But they still have to continue with that notification, should it be a
Oh, sure.
quasi judicial.
This is just adding one other layer that has to be done within a year of your submittal.
Like you were saying, I think it's always been done within a year anyways, hasn't it?
Typically, but not all, like, I feel like sometimes there are delays and things like that, and so it's just kind of one of those things where we feel that a year is a generous time to get an application in, and that the folks that had been notified about that community meeting probably will know that it's happened, if that happened within a year prior. But beyond that, might be a little far out.
Oh, yeah, I would think so.
Is there an advantage to delaying? Is there something they could see that's
There's not
pre-
necessarily an
deteriorating?
advantage, no,
Okay,
that, I don't think. I can't think of one.
just procrastination, huh?
Yeah, or maybe they got feedback they were trying to work through. It's hard to say.
Gotcha. No, that sounds reasonable.
It would be advantageous of them to have the meeting as early as possible to offset any issues that are brought up by potential
Sure,
landowners
sure,
adjacent.
yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean,
They'll leave
if you
yourself
wait till
sitting out.
last minute, then you might find yourself in
yeah.
trouble anyway.
And in the event that they were beyond that 1 year period, they would just go ahead and do another pre-application conference or
Or community meeting.
community
right,
meeting.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily just dismiss the entire process.
No, and that's
Okay.
not the intent. It's really just, if you're going to talk about what's required in the ordinance, like, processes can change after a year, like, less than a year, but, and then with the community meeting, property owners that own in the area can change if it's past a year
That's
out.
true.
I mean, obviously, that can change anyway. It could be changing within a couple weeks, but just to give us the ability to just have like as long as you're within a year, you can submit, you don't need to redo these two things. So.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any more questions? Any discussion between board members? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Approval.
I move to approve PB 2519 Currituck County Text Amendment because the request is consistent with the Imagine Currituck 2040 Vision Plan and the Unified Development Ordinance, and it brings the ordinance into compliance with the North Carolina General Statutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Okay, moving on, are there any announcements?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't believe we're going to be having a December planning board meeting.
Okay.
So I would just wish all of you happy Thanksgiving and
Maybe Merry
possibly a Merry Christmas and
Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year. And we may see you after the first of the year, but we'll keep you updated. But I don't know of
Okay.
anything tracking to the December planning board meeting at this time.
Well, back at you.
So yeah, and thanks for your willingness to serve. We appreciate it.
Jenny.
No, thanks for what all you guys do.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very
Very
much.
much.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.